is going to make the Great Escape. Just who the hell do you think you people are? We're going to get out of this union. Who are you? We'll be the first European country to get our freedom back. You all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you?
Well, that is Mr. Brexit himself, Nigel Farage, the British politician who more than anyone else is responsible for Britain leaving the EU, or trying to at least. Is he a hero or a villain? He says the EU's corrupt, anti-democratic, and should be consigned to the dustbin of history. His critics say he and other Brexiteers like Boris over there are right-wing Little Englanders who lied to get their way. Who's right and who's wrong? We'll hear from our panel in just a moment. But first, a quick introduction to the man EU love to hate.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Nigel Farage.
Well, thank you.
He's very genuine, and he tells it as it is.
You have the charisma of a damp rag and the appearance of a low-grade bank clerk. Who are you?
He comes across as a sort of everyday sort of person.
I like European culture, but I hate the flag. I hate the anthem. I hate the institution.
He's a Nazi.
I'm scared that people like you are being taken seriously.
We want our country back. Let's get our country back. We will get our country back. We will get our independence back. And we will get our borders back. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day. This is going on all over the country.
You're a fraud, Nigel. You're lying. You're a fraud. You did nothing to help these people.
I'm confident that Britain's going to leave the European Union.
The UK has voted to leave the European Union.
Independence Day! Brexit! The weather's changed for Brexit! How about that? You all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you?
In fact, nobody's laughing now, but this guest here, it's his job to make you laugh. He's a comedian, a British comedian who says that UKIP is a cancer on British society, and the sooner they all disappear, the better. Andre Walker, a right-wing journalist who knows and admires Mr. Farage. And last but not least, we have the deputy leader of UKIP, Mike Hookham, who thinks Nigel Farage is a hypocrite. Well, Mike, I didn't expect that. He's surely the greatest leader your party could have hoped for.
He's very, very good. He's a media superstar. He's very good on the TV, the media. What you see is completely different to what the man is himself. And I call him a hypocrite for one reason only, is that when we was all elected in 2014, we all signed what we call a MEP charter. And that charter stated that if we stood down from the party, we would hand our seat back to the party, and then the next one on the list would get the job in as an MEP. He signed that. He wrote that. So if you write the rules, you stick by the rules.
Mike,
and once he didn't do that, he's a hypocrite.
Yeah, but Mike, for the British people and for people watching around the world, that's small potatoes. He achieved something that no one thought was possible. He got Britain, essentially, out of Europe.
Well, we're not out of Europe yet, but he, as I said, is a media superstar and he's very, very good on the media. But along with that, to get us out of Europe for the campaign, it was thousands and thousands of members of UKIP that was out there every day on the streets, whatever the weather, campaigning, leafleting, and I thank those people because it's those people that got me elected and got Nigel elected. It's not the membership.
Andre Walker, I've got a question for you. Who do you think are the top 3 people who got Britain to come over to the Brexit side?
In order, Nigel Farage, Boris, and then Michael Gove. I think those were the three critical people. I think the importance of Nigel Farage is this. Look, you know, UKIP was a bit of a rag bag of the mad, the bad and the sad, and he managed to drag it to electoral success. Since he's left, the party really has nosedived. He's an important figure. He's a national figure. He's an international figure. His relationship with Donald Trump, as we all know, is incredibly strong. His ability to galvanise people is incredibly strong. His media performances are phenomenal.
Well, let's get over to the other side of this debate now, and symbolically, on the left of our set, we have Mitch Benn. Mitch, not a big fan, I understand.
No, not a left-winger either, for the record. I mean, on one level, you've got to hand it to Nigel Farage. He achieved something which the Nazis tried and failed to do, which the IRA tried and failed to do, which the 7/7 bombers tried and failed to do, and which every terrorist who's ever attacked this country tried to do. Nigel Farage turned the people of Britain against each other. And for that, I don't think he can ever be forgiven.
He's been called by many a racist little Englander. What do you think of that?
I think that's being remarkably charitable, but I think he absolutely qualifies as that. I mean, it's always a toss-up with somebody like Farage, whether he genuinely is racist or whether he's just a complete moral vacuum and demagogue. In Farage's case, I think on a few occasions he has actually let the cat out of the bag, and I think, yeah, he is racist.
Well, Nigel Farage left UKIP in December last year when the party took on Tommy Robinson as an advisor. Now, he's the founder of the English Defence League and considered by some to be far-right and Islamophobic.
When I was leader of UKIP, I actually forbade any former members of the EDL or the BNP to even be members of the party, because I wanted us to talk about real issues like immigration, but without anybody being able to say we were racist and actually meaning anything.
Back to Mike Hookham, now the deputy leader of UKIP. Mike, you traded essentially Tommy Robinson for Nigel Farage. He made it clear his opposition to taking on Tommy Robinson, and yet your leadership went ahead and took on Tommy Robinson.
This is Nigel being disingenuous as usual. Nigel left the party in 2016 when he thought the job was done, we'd won a referendum, and he walked away. Basically, he had nothing more to do with the party then. So this is complete red herring. Tommy Robinson is not a member of the party. He will never, ever be a member of the party. We still have our prescribed list, which we are sticking to.
You're not happy with it?
No, I'm not happy with it. I'm not. You know, to me, it's political madness to have anything to do with Mr. Robinson.
Why?
Because he's toxic. The guy is toxic, and I don't want anything to do with him. That's not the way I am. That's not the way I'm going. But if you've got a problem,
you might
with
want to tell your leader that.
I've told my leader that, and Gerard knows exactly what my feelings are, because I'm honest with Gerard. So I'm 98% behind him. But on this issue, I am not.
OK, let's get back to the bigger picture now, and the fact that the British people have been through 2 years of uncertainty as a result of this process. And even now, Brexit isn't guaranteed, Mike. It's been a bit of a failure. Was it all worth it?
It will be worth it when we get out, and it's been over 2 years. And let's lay the blame directly to who was to blame for this. And this is Theresa May, who's a Remainer, and a Remainer cabinet. And this is a woman who doesn't want to leave the European Union. She's brought back a deal that basically keeps us in the European Union, and she keeps pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. It's been voted down massively twice now. She's now going to take it next week to go for it again, which is unbelievable. How is this woman staying in as a Prime Minister? She's a Prime Minister in name only.
Andre, you spend your time sniffing around Westminster. Mike suspects, and a lot of people suspect, that the British establishment actually don't want Brexit. In fact, we know a majority of MPs don't want Brexit. This is a way to frustrate the whole process and essentially block it entirely. Do you believe that?
Yes. I mean, look, I remember my good friend Steve Bannon, the former White House chief strategist, said, look, fundamentally, did you think they were going to give your country back to you without a fight? This is a debate about whether Britain rules Britain or whether Brussels rules Britain, and they were never gonna make this easy.
Back to Mitch now. Mitch, over 2 years of uncertainty, who do you blame?
I blame the anti-European lie gravy train that's been rolling for 45 years. This is what happens when you try and base an entire policy on lies. Brexit was a lie, fueled by lies. The trouble is, it was presented to us as an abstract concept. It was presented to us in the abstract, and sooner or later you actually have to get down practicalities. You have to decide. This is the thing about Brexit means Brexit. Well, Brexit is a word that's only existed for 3 years and nobody's really defined what it does mean. That's a completely meaningless statement. There was no plan. There can never have been a plan. This is it.
Come on. There's a level of dishonesty here. Look, the truth of the matter is what Brexit means is becoming an independent country. The whole debate with Theresa May in Parliament is how much of our independence should we get back? How much of our independence should we get back? I say, let's have all of it. We should be an independent, self-governing nation. Boom.
What do you want to tow us out to the middle of the Atlantic? Is that what you want to do? We're in Europe, Andre. We've always been in Europe. We are European nation.
Hang on a second. I don't want to be ruled by anyone. I don't want to be ruled by anyone other than Britain.
We're not ruled. We're in a club, okay? Don't be so immature. We're not being ruled. We are in a club.
Come on. You're not still parroting that lie, are you? Come on. Mitch, nobody believes that rubbish anymore. Nobody believes it. At least nobody believes it.
Guys, I'm going to have to call time on it. I'll call time on it. Hang on, everybody. Let's get down to basics here. Okay, we were talking about a plan, the lack of a plan that followed the successful vote to leave the European Union. And the European Council President, Donald Tusk, has a few angry words for people like you, Mike, and for other Brexiteers. Let's have a listen.
I've been wondering what that special place in hell looks like for those who promoted Brexit without even a sketch of a plan how to carry it safely.
Back to Mike Hook and Mike. According to Donald Tusk, there's a special place in hell for you.
Yeah, and when I challenged him on this in the Parliament, I stood up and spoke and said how he'd insulted the British people and those 17.4 million people that voted to be out of this European Union.
Straw man!
One of the people that actually stood up and defended Tusk was Richard Corbett, who was an English MEP. Now, you've shouted before, and I've sat and listened to you, so listen to me now. Tusk insulted the British people. I took him to task on this. Of course he did.
You're lying, Michael. You're lying. Barefaced like to say that Tusk was talking about the 17.4 million Leave voters. We just heard the clip. He was talking about the people who promoted Brexit, not the people who voted for it. That's a barefaced lie.
Well, that's a good point.
So the people that promoted it, like me, and the people that voted for it, he's not talking about those. What was he talking about?
He didn't mention the 17, but you just said he insulted the 17.
Yes, because they voted, they want out of Europe.
Hang on, Mitch and Mike, hang on. It says here, no, Tusk says, I've been wondering what a special place in hell looks like for those who promoted Brexit without even a sketch of a plan. Now, what we all want to know is what is the plan? Hang on, Andre. Okay, Andre, I'll come to you, but what is the plan? Okay, you won the referendum, but the plan is in a total mess. There have been many attempts by Theresa May to get the country out of the EU, and they've all failed. And now look where you are.
That's absolutely right. Look, what Donald Tusk said, and I don't disagree with him, there would be a special place in hell for anyone who promoted Brexit without a plan. But that never happened. Brexiteers had a plan to leave the European Union and reallocate the 350 million a week to the NHS. But you know what? We don't have the keys to Downing Street. The Remainers have the keys to Downing Street, and it's them that don't have a plan because they never wanted to leave in the first place.
Oh, stop whining.
Hang on, Mitch. Mike, just in all fairness, you guys actually did publish a plan. Tell us.
We had a plan, the party had a plan, 3 years ago. Gerard Batten actually wrote this plan, how to get out of the European Union, how we would approach negotiations. That plan was out there and it was published. And basically, to cut it right down, basically it's going to Europe and saying, we want to trade with you, we want to work with you, but we want a free trade agreement. And if you can give us that free trade agreement, it would be a bilateral agreement between you and us, free trade. But if you don't want to give us that, well, fair enough. We will walk away on WTO.
Okay.
And that was a basic, simple way to do it.
Parliament doesn't want to do that.
Theresa May couldn't do that.
Mike, Parliament doesn't want to do that.
No, Theresa May doesn't want to do that. Parliament voted last night that they don't want to walk. They will not walk away on the WTO.
It's not practical then,
but actually, it's in the agreement. It's in Article 50 that is what will happen if they don't come back with a deal. We will be walking away on the WTO.
Okay, fair enough. Hang on a second. Even though he hates the EU, he's been a European MP for 20 years, and he clearly relishes the chance to wind them up. Let's go in a different direction now.
Now, I know that virtually none of you have ever done a proper job in your lives or worked in business or worked in trade or indeed ever created a job.
I'm really surprised that you are here. You were fighting for the exit. The British people voted in favour of the exit. Why are you here?
Jean-Claude Juncker there making a kind of interesting point. Mike, why does Nigel Farage, for that matter, why do you go when you hate the European Union so much? Why do you go there?
I'll tell you one little interesting fact. When I first went in, I went on a local radio programme and I said, name the 6 MEPs that was in the last Parliament. Nobody could name any of them. Not one of them. 6 Yorkshire MEPs. Not one could be named. We've been in this thing for over 40 years and nobody knows who these MEPs are. Because they don't tell you they are deliberately and they don't want you to know what's going on. We went there and we said, we will go in there and we will show you what's going on and what's happening within this Parliament. And that's what we've done, that's what I've done. I've highlighted that.
Mitch.
I'm fighting on behalf of the fishing industry and I'm telling the fishing industry how they are being shafted by this European Union.
Mitch, let's come back to you for a second. What Mike's saying is he's actually enhanced the democratic nature of the European Union by being there and by Nigel Farage being there.
Who's working to bring down the system from within and cashing all the checks. Look, I mean...
Of course I get paid. Would you want to do a job and not get paid?
Well, as we heard earlier, Nigel Farage actually left UKIP and is now a member of an even smaller party, the Brexit Party. But don't write him off. He still has allies and admirers in Europe and across the Atlantic, as Simon McGregor-Woods reports.
We will make America great again.
We want our country back. One more time. We want our country back.
The Farage factor has spread far and wide. Just days after Donald Trump won the US presidency, who was his first foreign visitor? His old friend and his band of Brexiteers.
And remember, anything is possible if enough decent people are prepared to stand up against the establishment. Thank you very much indeed.
Farage may style himself as a quintessentially British caricature, but he identifies with a global phenomenon. He talks of a movement determined to shake things up, to turn back the clock on globalisation, an arsonist's agenda against the elite everywhere.
The rhetorical terms being part of a change in society, that this isn't just about the UK but about a bigger shift in society, I think makes his message stronger.
What happened in 2016 is the beginning of a great global revolution.
Le peuple britannique a donc apporté aux peuples européens, mais aussi aux peuples du monde entier, une éclatante leçon de démocratie.
Tehát az Európai Unió nem hozhat olyan döntéseket, amely egy nép alkotmányos identitását akarata ellenére megváltoztathatja.
Far cadere il muro di Berlino una volta sarebbe stato impensabile. E il prossimo muro che facciamo cadere è quello di Bruxelles.
Britain regained national sovereignty, became a free and independent country again.
But Brexit has got bogged down. European populists today talk less of leaving, more of reforming Europe from within. In May's EU parliamentary elections, they plan to grab as many seats as possible, to change rather than to abandon.
Another difference between Farage and his foreign friends is, as a result largely of electoral rules here, he's never been elected to this place despite trying several times, while his European co-populists have become prime ministers and presidential candidates. For many, Brexit remains an inspiration, but for now its principal architect is out of frontline politics, hosting a radio show. For all that, Nigel Farage remains an insurgent outsider whose influence ranges far beyond these shores.
Well, let's look now at where Nigel Farage fits in with those right-wing parties across Europe. Andre, I want to come to you. Can you just explain what is his position with those other people, particularly Marine Le Pen and others?
Well, I think the situation with all of the European leaders is always fluid. You know, always remember, a lot of, right-wing populists on the continent, people like Viktor Orban, are not in favour of leaving the European Union in the same way that we are. I think the critical relationship for Farage, as your report talked about, is the relationship with Donald Trump. You know, Donald Trump has always said that Brexit and the election of Donald Trump are absolutely two elements of the same effect. And what that effect is, regaining control of the country from elites that have mismanaged it for decades.
OK, let's take a look at the European Parliament, because that actually tells us where he is specifically. It's clear where he fits in. His new Brexit party is a member of the Europe for Freedom and Democracy group, which contains Italy's populist five-star movement and Germany's AfD, Alternative for Deutschland. While his group is to the right of Jean-Claude Juncker's mainstream European People's Party, he's not as far to the right as Marine Le Pen's Europe of Nations and Freedom, which includes France's National Rally, formerly the National Front, and Italy's Northern League, and a number of UKIP members too. Michael, can come back to you for a second. You're not one of the UKIP members in Marine Le Pen's bloc, but your leader is. Are you comfortable with that?
He did that tactically for one reason. He needed speaking time on Brexit. And the negotiation was, any time Brexit comes up in the Parliament, Gerard gets the lion's share. This is how it works. The leader of the group gets 5 minutes, whatever, to speak. I, as just a member, would get a minute. He gets 5 minutes. If he was in EFDD, Nigel would get the 5 minutes, Gerard wouldn't.
But Mike, you won't join the same group as your leader in Europe. Why?
All I want to do, I'm a working class lad from Hull, I want to be out the European Union. I will not join ENF, I don't want nothing to do with them. I will not join Golden Dawn or anything like that. I am not far right. I voted Labour for 40 years of my life till I realised that these people were not supporting, not working for me. I want to be out the European Union. When I walk out the European Union, when they make me redundant, I will be the happiest bunny on this planet.
Mike, thank you for that. I look forward to the day you're a happy bunny on the planet. There were many reasons why people voted for Brexit. Here's the main one, according to Farage.
The main reason the United Kingdom voted the way that it did is you have, by stealth, by deception, without ever telling the truth to the British or the rest of the peoples of Europe, you have imposed upon them a political union.
Back to Mitch Benn for a moment. Mitch, we've heard from Nigel Farage there saying they don't want to respect, the European Union doesn't want to respect the nation state. It wants to take over and install its own flag, its own anthem and so on. Is that not something you buy then as an explanation?
No, I don't think there's any evidence for that. That's the drum they've been banging since the 1970s. And, and this business about, there's going to be a European army. Well, of course, the savage irony of that is, as an EU member, we would get the chance to veto that. There's no plans for it, but if there were plans for it, we would get a chance to veto that. As it is, if we leave, they're perfectly at liberty to raise a European army, and it would be on our borders. Yeah, can I put a question to Andre and Mike while we're here? Andre and Mike, do you believe that there is still a majority in this country in favour of leaving the EU?
Yes,
absolutely. You believe there's still a majority?
100%. I am somebody that goes out on the street and talks to the people of Great Britain. I was out there last Saturday. For the first time, really, I usually get the far left, the Bollinger Bolsheviks, coming and having a pop at me, but not one of them had a pop at me on Saturday. It was total support for the party and for being out of the European Union.
Got a final question for you all. I'll start with Mitch. One word answer. Do you think that Britain will leave the European Union at some point or not?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Andre?
One word, eventually.
And over to you, Mike.
Right. Not on March the 29th, but yes, it will be eventually, because this country is a bubbling pot now, ready to revolt against this Westminster, this bunch of traitors.
That's the longest word I've ever heard, Mike.
And that is the
I'm a
politician's
Yorkshireman.
one
Why
word.
use one word when 15 will do?
Thank you very much. Mike Hookham, Andre Walker and Mitch Benn, thank you. We spent much of the programme talking about Mr Brexit. Now let's talk about Mr Stop Brexit.
Stop Brexit!
Right, you call me Steve. Stop Brexit, Steve. I've been coming here to Parliament now for just over 19 months. I'll come, set up. Morning. Flags, banners, placards, and then it's keep an eye open for MPs, Lords, MEPs, anybody that wants to talk about Brexit. We've got a problem in this nation, and the answer was never to leave the European Union. It was never Brexit. The answer is there in our Parliament. We need to sort that mess out.
Stop Brexit!
Well, he's probably going to be in work for another few months, if not years. Thank you for watching. See you next week.